All right, so right now in math, you guys are reviewing equations with either one solution, an infinite amount of solutions, or no solution. So before we get started on some practice problems, I'm going to recommend that you guys grab a pencil, calculator, and a paper. And as I'm solving these problems, why don't you guys follow along with me? So I'm going to go ahead and first review the definitions. So if we have an equation with just one solution, that means that only one number makes the equation true. So for example, if 2 plus x equals 4, the only number that makes this true is 2. And that's only one number, so there's only one solution. When we have an equation with an infinite amount of solutions, that means any number can make the equation true. So for example, we have 4x plus 12 is equal to 4x plus 5 plus 7. So when I end up combining my like terms, in this case it'll be 5 plus 7, that equals 12 plus 4x. You're going to see that it's the same on both sides. So that means that my equation is going to have an infinite amount of solutions. And then I'm going to have some equations that have no solution. So this means that absolutely no number will make this equation true, and it's pretty much impossible to solve. So if I have 3x plus 5 is equal to 3x minus 5, these are eventually going to cancel out, right? And so are these, okay? So nothing will make this true. So let's go ahead and take a look at our first one. Keeping in mind that when we solve these problems, we're also going to have to remember our order of operations. So we have parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction, with multiplication and division being able to switch with whichever one comes first. And that same rule goes for addition and subtraction. So here I have -5 parenthesis -2 minus 8m is equal to 10 plus 5m. So my first step here is I want to get rid of these parentheses. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my -5 and distribute to my -2. So -5 times -2 is positive 10. Now I'm going to take my -5 and distribute with my negative 8m. Well, negative times a negative is a positive, and 5 times 8m is going to give me 40m, is equal to 10 plus 5m. Now, once you get to this point, you can move either one. You can move your 40m to the side with your 5m, or you can move your 5m to the side with your 40m. There's no wrong way to solve it as long as you guys are moving one of those. But I'm going to move my 5m because if I move my smaller one, that means that I'm not going to have to work with negatives. So now I have 10, and then 40m minus 5m is going to give me positive 35m is equal to 10 because these have canceled. So now what I have to do is find out how to get rid of my 10. I can't move this one because if I do, then there's going to be nothing on that side of my equal sign. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my other 10. Now I'm going to get 35m is equal to 0. Don't panic here. Just keep going. So 35 and m are multiplying. So I'm going to go ahead and do the opposite of multiplication, which would be division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 35. Once I do that, my 35's cancel, and I get m is equal to 0. Now, because I got 0, I'm a little skeptical, so I'm always going to go ahead and just double check my answer. So to do that, I'm going to rewrite my problem. -5 times -2 minus 8m. And if I'm correct, that should be equal to 10 plus 5m. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it, but instead of writing m, I'm going to plug in my 0. All right, So once I have this, now I need to follow those order of operations. So parentheses is the very first thing that comes. So I want to solve the inside first. So I'm going to get my -5 ready. And then in my parentheses, I have to pay attention to what operation I have to do first. So there's no exponents, there is multiplication. So -8 times 0 is going to be 0. And then on this side, I can go ahead and solve for my 5 times 0, which is 0. All right, so I'm going to continue to simplify within my parentheses. -2 minus 0, I'm not taking anything away, so it's going to stay as -2, is equal to 10 plus nothing is 10. So now -5 times -2 is going to give me 10. And because 10 is equal to 10, I know that m equals 0 was my answer, which means that this only has one solution. All right. For this next one, I have -4 v plus 3 equals -12 minus 4. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of those parentheses. And in order to do that, I'm going to distribute. So my -4 is going to go to my v. So this is -4v. And then -4 is going to go to my +3. A negative times a positive is a negative. And then 4 times 3 is 12. And this is going to be equal to -12. Oops, not adding. Sorry about that. Minus 4v. So now I have an equation with variables on both sides. I'm going to go ahead and move my 4v. I'm going to move my negative, and they're both negative, so you'll see what happens here in a second. I'm going to add 4v on both sides. Once I do that, they both are going to cancel. So -12 is equal to -12. This tells me that we are going to have an infinite amount of solutions. And I'll show you why that makes sense. Okay. So let's, for the sake of it, say that v is equal to 6. Okay, I'm going to rewrite my problem. -4v plus 3 is equal to -12 minus 4v. Now, instead of rewriting my v, I'm going to plug in v equals 6. So let's do -4, 6 plus 3 is equal to -12 minus 4 times 6. All right, and then same thing, I'm just going to follow my order of operations. So for this one on my left side, I'm going to get rid of those parentheses because that's the very first thing in my order of operations. I'm going to do 6 plus 3, which is going to give me 9. That's going to be equal to -12. And on this side, I can go ahead and solve my -4 times 6. That's going to give me -24. Okay. Over here, I have -4 times 9. That's -36 is equal to, and then -12 minus 24 is -36 as well. All right, let's go ahead and try another number. Give me 1 second to get all of this gone. All right, so this time I don't want v to equal 6. Let's say v could equal -8. Okay, if this does have an infinite amount of solutions, then -8 should work too. So again, just rewrite my problem. So I'm going to go ahead and put -4 parentheses v plus 3 is equal to -12 minus 4v. Now instead of v, I'm going to plug in for -8. So I'm going to get -4 times -8 plus 3 is equal to -12 minus 4 times -8. All right, so once I do that, I need to solve within my parentheses first because that's the order of operations. So -8 plus 3, that's going to give me -5 is equal to -12. And then -4 times -8 gives me a positive 32. So I'm going to go ahead and solve on my left side. I have -4 times -5. That's going to give me a positive 20. And this should be equal to -12 plus 32 is going to give me a positive 20. So because I was able to solve for v equals 6 and v equals -8, I know that I have an infinite number of solutions for this problem. All right, we're going to go ahead and do just one more. I have -3 minus 6b equals 6b plus 5. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is there's a negative outside of my parentheses, which is really just a -1. I'm going to take this -1 and distribute it inside my parentheses to get rid of them. So -1 times positive 3 is -3. -1 times -6b gives me a positive 6b. This is going to be equal to 6b plus 5. So now I'm going to go ahead and move my variables. I'm going to do -6b on both sides. Once I do that, again, they're both going to cancel. So now I just have -3 is equal to 5. That is not a true statement. So for this one, there is no solution. And don't be afraid to double check your work. Yes, it's an extra step, but it is so, so, so helpful. So I'm just going to double check. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let's say that b equals 1. Okay, I'm going to try 1 for my answer. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it. So I'm going to do -3 minus 6b is equal to 6b plus 5. All right, so just plugging in my variable now. 6 times 1, 6 times 1 plus 5. All right, so I have to solve inside my parentheses first because that's my order of operations. And then in my parentheses, I have to follow order of operations too. So there's no exponents. I'm going to move on to multiplication, and I see -6 times 1. That's just going to be -6 is equal to 6, because 6 times 1 is just 6, plus 5. Still have to solve within my parentheses, so 3 minus 6 is -3 is equal to 6 plus 5 is 11. Now I have to distribute my 1, and I'm just going to multiply. So -1 times -3 gives me positive 3 equals 11. That is not a true statement, so because of that, we do know that this is no solution. So again, while you guys are doing your work, just remember order of operations, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Remembering that multiplication and division are interchangeable, so it's going to depend on which one comes first in your math problem. And then the same with addition and subtraction. That's going to depend on which one comes first within your math problem. Okay, so an equation with one solution means that only one number can make the equation true. An equation with an infinite amount of solutions means any number can make the equation true. And then an equation with no solutions means that we have wasted our time. No, I'm just kidding. It just means that there's no number that will make this equation true. All right, guys, I hope that this helped. Happy studying. Let me know if you need anything else.